Ladies and gentlemen, the session is about to start. Please take your seats.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start. Could you please take your seats? Мы скоро начнем. Прошу всех занять свои места.
Есть у него здесь место?
I hope my microphone is on. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to everybody to the Uzbekistan
Why not? Why
investment
not?
session.
No, everything is. We shall be in the same panel, you know? Okay.
Let me start with some less glorious remarks, because we have you in the audience and we have a lot of people watching it on live stream. And those who are there or in the audience will be speaking various languages, as is customary. And translation in English, Russian, Uzbek is available on your headphones and on your Interactio app, also if you are watching online. And now the real thing. Assalamu alaikum. A very good morning to everybody. This is the session of our host country, our very generous host country, Uzbekistan, to show what Uzbekistan has achieved for the last 6 to 7 years, to show that Uzbekistan gates are open to you, investors. And without further ado, I would like us to show a video that summarizes it all.
Silverleaf has been invested in Uzbekistan as an operator as well as an investor since 2018 under the reforms of President Mirziyoyev. We came here primarily to focus on the modernization of agriculture and the reforms in the agricultural sector.
You know, Uzbekistan today is really leading the implementation of energy transition. And I have to say the strategy, the policy in place, all what has been done to be sure that, companies and technology and knowledge to be and investment coming to Uzbekistan will be a great contribution to the energy transition.
I invite you Mr. Sardar Umurzakov, Head of the Presidential Administration and EBRD Governor. I would like to invite you to make your opening remarks, this Sardar.
Good morning, dear Madam President, Odil Rinobaso, dear ministers, dear colleagues, dear investors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, Uzbekistonga xush kelibsiz. I want to welcome you all in Uzbekistan, in the city of Samarkand, the Pearl of the East. It will be difficult for me to compete with this video, but I'll do my best to express what we want to say when we meet such an honored investors audience. It is not a coincidence, in my view, for EBRD's 32nd annual meeting and business forum to be taking place in this magnificent city. Samarkand has been at the crossroads of the world cultures, enlightenment, and trade for almost 3 millennia. From the diary of Clavijo, the ambassador of the King of Castile, we know that in the 15th century, Samarkand was the city of majestic palaces, gardens, and the center of international diplomacy. where ambassadors to the court of Amir Timur were accredited. It is a great pleasure for me today to see so many dear friends of Uzbekistan at this Investment Outlook session. This is, in my view, the acknowledgement of your willingness to engage with our country and explore abundant investment opportunities. We are grateful for your commitment to building strong partnership with Uzbekistan. As you explore the UNESCO World Heritage City of Samarkand, I am convinced that you will be inspired by the rich history and diverse culture. From the stunning architecture of madrasas to the vibrant markets and bustling streets, our country has something unique to offer everyone. We are delighted to share this experience with you and hope that you will enjoy your stay in Uzbekistan. Dear colleagues, dear Madam President, as we gather here today, I would like to reflect on important achievements of our country, including in partnership with the EBRD. As you know, we started to build new Uzbekistan 6 years ago under the leadership of our President, His Excellency Shavkat Mirziyoyev, who determined strategic directions of Uzbekistan's development. These directions are very well known: transformation of the economy, developing democracy, strengthening of the civil society, developing friendly relations with all other nations of the world. Main focus of reforms was placed at improving living standards and securing human rights for every citizen of Uzbekistan. Over 6 years, we completely eradicated forced and child labor, introduced zero tolerance to corruption, guaranteed freedom of speech and religion, ensured protection of the private property, strengthened rule of law, and secured inter-ethnic peace and stability. New constitution of New Uzbekistan that was recently approved by majority of our citizens establishes a strong foundation for ensuring that reforms, which we started 6 years ago, now truly became irreversible. Dear Madam President, in 2017, we have embarked on a new era of cooperation with the EBRD. I'm delighted to note that in 2022, the EBRD invested 840 million euros in Uzbekistan to implement 26 projects, making the country the largest recipient in Central Asia for the 3rd year in a row. Our joint portfolio today is worth an impressive 3.3 billion euro and consists of 88 very important projects. It reflects our shared commitment to building an open, inclusive and sustainable market economy in Uzbekistan, where the private sector is the main driver of the growth. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude for the EBRD's invaluable contribution in establishing a Foreign Investors Council under the President of Uzbekistan. We highly appreciate EBRD's strong support in implementing a broad reform agenda, and we are strongly committed to further expand our partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share some of the key reforms implemented as of today in the framework of new Uzbekistan development strategy, adopted under the leadership of President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. First, we are undertaking a comprehensive public administration reform to cut red tape, reduce bureaucracy, and introduce a compact, efficient, and professional government system. The number of ministries has recently been reduced from 61 to 28. Their tasks and powers were clearly defined. More than 500 government functions on regulating business sector were eliminated. Our aim is to create people and business-friendly public administration in our country. Second, we are fully committed to the transition to a green economy. Uzbekistan has already attracted more than $8 billion into renewable energy sector over the past 3 years. And I'm delighted to see here our friends, representatives and leadership of the investor companies who actually were brave enough to become pioneers in this sector. Third, we continue to develop small and medium enterprises with a special focus on supporting women entrepreneurship. And for this one, of course, we want to thank EBRD and personally Madam President. Fourth, we established administrative courts which ensure that any legal issues that might arise between the government institutions and the private investors are interpreted in favor of investors. Moreover, we are taking concrete steps to establish Tashkent International Commercial Court very soon. Fifth, we are committed to continuing privatization and transformation of the state-owned enterprises and banks. We intend to increase the share of private financial institutions in the banking sector to at least 60%. We are working on privatization of large state-owned companies in mining, chemical, financial, and telecommunication sectors. Sixth, we are expediting negotiations to join the World Trade Organization. We have already reduced import duties and are currently harmonizing our national legislation with international norms and standards. Finally, we have introduced a range of incentives and benefits for foreign investors, including tax breaks, reduced tariffs, and streamlined licensing. We have also made significant investments in infrastructure, including transportation, telecommunications, and energy, to create conditions for sustained economic growth. These reforms are only the beginning of our journey towards creating an investor-friendly Uzbekistan. We are fully committed to ensure that Uzbekistan remains a reliable and attractive destination for foreign investment. I can assure you that under the leadership of President Mirziyoyev, we are ready to undertake unconventional and innovative measures to create a comfortable environment for all investors. Additionally, I would like to point out that today, investing in Uzbekistan means also investing in Central Asia, because as you probably know about the positive changes which are happening in the region, and today's Central Asian region and the relations between 5 countries of this region are completely different compared to what we used to have 6 years ago. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, Uzbekistan possesses all conditions and necessary resources to meet any investor's needs. We have a rich natural resources base, skilled and educated young workforce, infrastructure, large market access. We will provide comprehensive assistance in supporting and implementing your investment plans. Later today, His Excellency the President will address President of Uzbekistan, will address our honorable guests and friends, where you will hear more about investment opportunities in Uzbekistan. I want to use this chance to wish all the participants productive discussions and look forward to continued collaboration in the years ahead. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Would you like to take a seat here while... Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite the President of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Madame Odile Renaud-Bassou, to make his opening remarks.
Good morning, Governor Umuzakov, dear Sardor. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. What better way to start today's proceeding at the Business Forum than to focus on our host country and the great investment opportunities it now offers to the world. Since 2017, Uzbekistan has undergone fundamental changes, and this has been very much highlighted by our dear governor. It has certainly been more prominent in EBRD's investment map. And now is the time for even more investors to follow our example and discover what the country can do for them. Over the last 6 years, we, as EBRD, invested more than 3 billion euros in more than 100 projects and 800 million euros in 2022 alone, so a huge increase. 2/3 of these investments have been in the private sphere. Local small businesses, local corporates, foreign investors across a wide spectrum of sectors. We also have advised on and worked with our Uzbek partners on policy reforms, including strengthening the climate for foreign direct investment. And let me reaffirm our commitment to continue doing so. That combination of investment and advising on policy reforms is central to our business model, and it allows us to accelerate and intensify our work in line with our partners' progress in pushing through reforms on the ground. Let me highlight 4 areas of particular interest for us here in Uzbekistan, and I hope to many of you in the audience as well. First, energy. Uzbekistan has made a strong commitment to the green energy transition. We are delighted to advise on its low-carbon pathway strategy for the energy sector. And the country commitment is not only on paper. Uzbekistan, with its target of achieving 2 gigawatts of renewable by 2030, continues to be the region's renewable powerhouse. To date, EBRD's investment in clean energy here have reached 2.6 gigawatts. And just last year, we financed 3 large wind projects with a total capacity of 1.5 gigawatts, and at the beginning of this year, more solar projects generating over 900 megawatts. So for us, Uzbekistan is a country where we move from megawatt to gigawatt, which is a big step forward. Uzbekistan has been very successful in attracting high-quality foreign investors in this area, and some of them are here today. It has been investing in diversifying sources of power and strengthening its grid system, yet again with EBRD support. We are confident that Uzbekistan's second wave of energy sector reforms will start soon. And this will confirm Uzbekistan's reputation as a champion of the green energy transition and a country that sees its future energy security relying on clean sources of power. Area number 2, public-private partnership. Uzbekistan has chosen to harness the expertise and delivery of the private sector to accelerate infrastructure development and make infrastructure operations more efficient. This will provide higher quality services to its citizens and businesses. An impressive pipeline of over 15 billion euros worth of potential PPP projects has been outlined by our Uzbek partners. EBRD is advising on preparing and tendering some of these projects, including the Tashkent-Samarkand motorway, as well as student dormitories, to mention just 2. We are looking forward to provide financing for well-structured PPP investments, such as the Namgangan wastewater plant, the first wastewater PPP, and thus a benchmark, we hope, for many more. We believe that there will be many more opportunities opening up the country for foreign investments through these public-private partnerships. The third area, and Sardar, you also mentioned it, is privatization. The transformation and privatization of state-owned enterprises and state-owned banks through strategic sales and transparent IPOs are high on both the Uzbek and EBRD agenda. These will help turn around these companies and banks to ensure They are more efficient, competitive and transparent, and make an enhanced contribution to Uzbekistan's economic growth. Following the successful privatization of Coca-Cola bottling and Ferganadot, a major fertilizer manufacturer, as well as OTP's acquisition of Hypotheca Bank, we expect further privatizations in the coming months to be carried out on a transparent and competitive basis. We are not just waiting for events. We are committed to supporting our Uzbek partners in transforming state-owned enterprises and banks, improving their corporate governance and thus performance, and preparing them for privatization too. At the bank, we are of course closest to the banking sector and are already working together with other IFIs on the transformation of SQB Bank and also engage in the transformation of Asaka Bank. Last but not least, the business environment. At the end of last year, I had the honor to co-chair the inaugural high-level session of the Foreign Investors Council with President Mirziyoyev. Since then, the Council's working group, with steady engagement of the Ministry of Investments, Industry and Trade, have been working hard on a wide range of issues, starting from tax administration to a law on investments to setting up an e-window for investors. I am confident that there will be positive results to report on at the next session of the Foreign Investors Council this autumn. Ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the exciting developments in the investment in Uzbekistan which we have witnessed ourselves over the last few years. We have been actively involved in many of them ourselves and will continue to support Uzbekistan's reform efforts through investments and policy advice in our next country strategy due next year. I urge you here today with us in Samarkand or watching online to follow our lead and get involved too. Your hard work will be richly rewarded. I wish you every success. And Omad Yorbolsin, or good luck. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank our first encouraging remarks about why to come to Uzbekistan. Many of you have already come, and you will see them on the scene. This is the time to invite our panelists for a good discussion, to learn from our Uzbek panelists of what they are planning. So I would like to invite Mr. Shukrat Vafayev, Director General of the Agency for Strategic Reforms, to the scene, together with Deputy Prime Minister Jamshed Hojayev to join him to give the big picture and policy, followed by those who probably are the best ambassadors of Uzbekistan. Investors that have already risked their money, they have plans for the future, and I would like to invite from Masdar, Mr. Mohammed Jamil Aramahi, Mr. Laszlo Wolf from OTP Bank, and also, of course, Mr. Cyril Kurjarek from Suez, to share your experience. Pardon? You will sit next to me. Just to remind you that it's not going to be just parallel talks. Yes, we are also going to take questions towards the end of our panel. And to be digitally savvy, you can submit your questions going to slido.com and using the code 1595844 for all those who are also watching us online, and choose their Uzbekistan Investment Outlook and post your question there. And if you are here in the audience, There is a QR code on the back of the seat in front of you to help. Just point your phone and ask your question, and we'll take quite a few of them towards the end of the panel. But why don't we go, Mr. Vafayev, to the big picture? Macroeconomic picture, reforms to date, and if you could share with us the secrets and the plans for the next wave of reform.
Good morning, dear guests, dear participants, dear investors. I'm very pleased and honored to welcome you today at this session. It is a bit difficult to be impressive after impressive presentations ahead of me. In general, our attitude towards reforms was always based on importance of macroeconomic stability. And given that, our first major reform introduced by His Excellency President Mirziyoyev was related and resolved foreign exchange restrictions, multiple exchange practices, which used to strongly affect our macroeconomic policies. And after very sizable adjustment, we started working on stabilizing prices and simultaneously introducing additional price adjustments in the economy. Of course, it's not an easy task, but given that inflation over the last 6 years gradually going down and reached one-digit level, I think you can see that these policies and these reforms definitely produce positive results. We intend to continue focusing on macroeconomic stability. We have sizable buffers, fiscal buffers, the central bank reserves, which provides necessary flexibility and room for macroeconomic measures. And as I said, our major growth on that front is reducing inflation and supporting and maintaining growth at the level of 5–6% at least. Overall, the strategy of President Mirziyoyev is reflected in the development strategy of Uzbekistan for 2022-26. The strategy, of course, is very comprehensive. It includes more than 100 goals, concrete targets and objectives, and is aimed at improving our population's well-being, transforming our economy, accelerating development of businesses, private businesses, and of course providing protection to human rights and interests, and stimulating establishment and development of very active civil society in the coming years. Uzbekistan's government is actively working on the implementation of this strategy, and I can share with you some of the goals of this program, which envisages that industrial sector growth, growth of industrial production by 2026 by 1.4 times, definitely actively introducing green economy and green technologies, and we aim to attract more than 120 billion investments in next 5 years, especially in infrastructure. And we aim to improve our exports and increase them by reaching over 30 billion a year by 2026. And of course, most important, increase further share of private sector contribution to GDP to 80% from current 60%. I can go with a very long explanation of our plans and our objectives, but our objectives is provide stable macroeconomic environment and framework, stable legal framework, and create comfortable and conducive for your businesses legal framework and conditions in Uzbekistan. Thank you and welcome to Uzbekistan.
Thank you very much. Shall we continue? Still around Uzbekistan, Deputy Prime Minister Hojayev, what also Mr. Umurzakov mentioned, that looking at Uzbekistan, you are looking at a region. You are in charge of trade policy, global integration of Uzbekistan. What can you tell us about WTO accession, the trade policy, whoever is investing here, also how it can reach out in the region of Central Asia, but well beyond, as your ambition is?
Thank you very much, Zhuzhana. That's, I think, one of the key priorities of Uzbekistan, to have the connectivity and to have a profound policy on the first, the access to the market, and the second, of course, the building infrastructure. And I would say I can divide this question in two main things. The first is of course, how do you look like, how do you see Uzbekistan as a big market or as a share of Central Asia, which is almost 100 million. And Uzbekistan is being a big country, so many investors, they are not looking only to the domestic market, but they are looking for the whole regional market as well. So that means two things should be there. Uzbekistan fundamentally it has a good infrastructure on CIS countries and the Central Asia as well. There is, of course, we have Uzbekistan has a free trade zone with all the Central Asian and the CIS countries, and we have a good connection with all countries as well. And 2 years ago we were granted a GSP Plus, which gives again preferable trade for more than 6,000 goods and services. That is what we have, and the policy and the reforms introduced by President Mirziyoyev actually gave our exporters the access to the European market as well. But what is the next? Of course, is again on the legislative level to be a member of WTO, organized WTO, and of course the second main challenge, as I mentioned, if we fundamentally had corridors to the CIS and Central Asia, but now we should have an access to the China and access to as you know, Uzbekistan is a double landlocked country, to the other ports as well. So on the first, of course, with the new government, already for 3 years we've been working on the WTO accession, and so far we have finished all the technical aspects of the applying our documents, not synchronizing, but explaining our current legislation system to all WTO members. And this year we have a roadmap, and we have the indicator to finish with our partners the negotiations regarding the terms of the WTO accession. That means one of the key aspects and the challenges of the WTO accession is to have real policy and the will from the government, of course, from the president, and that's what we have. And the second, of course, the big infrastructure projects like Trans-Afghan Railroad and railroad to from Kyrgyzstan to China. And I think this month we are going to sign a memorandum between 3 countries on starting the project. Many things were already been done, and we are expecting to finish the feasibility study. So all in all, I just want to mention to my colleagues and the guests that we are really working hard on creating the good environment for our exporters, for our importers to have an access to the markets, as I mentioned, by being a member of WTO, which is the on priority agenda, and having a GSP plus, and then developing the corridors. So the middle corridor is the second. I hope on 19th of June will be introduced the new project by EU regarding the improving the middle corridor, which is important now according to geopolitical situation today. So I just want to assure that we know the problems that now are arising, and we are working on it, and we'll address all the issues that is related to the infrastructure and the market access. That's a small introduction.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister Hojayev. And thank you very much, dear Jamshed. You mentioned again the buzzword of connectivity. Invest in Uzbekistan to invest in a much, much larger market. And yes, we have been doing as EBRD, generously funded by the EU, a study on sustainable transport corridors. Watch the scene. Study to be presented on the 19th of May, and many investment projects will follow. Together, Jamshed, what you mentioned, also the soft measures. Yes. But once I talk about connectivity, I can't help talking about the energy sector as well and electricity trading. And here we have a long-standing friend of Uzbekistan, I hope a long-standing friend of EBRD as well, Mr. Ramahi from Masdar. You have already invested here. You have already invested in Uzbekistan, and you have big plans for the country, for Central Asia. Why? Apart from your strong belief in renewable energy. Could you share your thoughts with us, please?
First allow me to congratulate our friends from the government, congratulate EBRD for a great gathering here in the great city of Samarkand. This is a perfect place to gather. A city full of history, full of culture, full of business. And I'm really delighted and happy to be here. So our journey in Uzbekistan started from the early beginning with the government looking forward in decarbonizing their system, investing in the future, welcoming direct foreign investments. And that story we heard from the government from day one. And we believed in that story. And we took our belief and we implemented that on the ground by developing and building the first and the largest solar farm in Central Asia, in Novoi region. At that time, it's 100 megawatt. For this region, it was a major shift and, in fact, a big capacity. And we were honored to have the president inaugurating that plant last year. So, let me say, and we have seen before my dear brother, His Excellency Mr. Sardor, presenting and saying that Uzbekistan is business friendly. Well, I can assure you as an investor, it is business friendly. In fact, the government has been a partner with us from day one, supporting us step by step. If we have any challenges, the government heard us out and tried to do whatever it takes to ensure that we, as a foreign investor, is protected and our business is conducted in an efficient way. So with that in mind, I think it's very important to note that we took our investment even further here in this great country of Uzbekistan. Today we are building 1.4 gigawatt of capacity. 1.4 gigawatt of capacity. So to put things into context, our portfolio, either operational or under construction, is valued approximately at around $2 billion US. $2 billion US. And of course, with the reforms, with the government policy, it is important to note that without institutions like EBRD, we will not be able to do what we have done in Uzbekistan and in other countries around the region and elsewhere in the world. So of course, we value that financial institutions, multilateral institutions are working hand in hand with the government, with the investors like Masdar, to ensure that these investments are going into the right structure, they are going into the right destination, and we are happy to see that other institutions, including, of course, different sister companies and including our shareholders, Taqa, looking into investing in Uzbekistan, as well as Mubadala and others, hopefully in the future. So I would just say I'm happy to be an ambassador for Uzbekistan because Uzbekistan deserves the best. Finally, I just want to leave with one point. Government policy is great. History is fantastic because history teaches a lot of things. But I just want to say something very important that is very unique for Uzbekistan. It's the Uzbek people. The human capital that is here is unmatched anywhere in the world. And this is very important. I think it's very critical because human capital is essential in everything that we do, and we are happy to tap into this human capital here from Uzbekistan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shall we move to the financial sector? Bank privatization, one of the top priorities. I was coming here, I have to tell you, my name is Zsuzsanna Hargitai, Managing Director of EBRD for Central Asia, and I'm originally from Hungary. I was arriving in Uzbekistan 2 years ago, and what name did I spot? OTP Bank Hungary in Uzbekistan. Laszlo Wolf, Deputy CEO of OTP Bank, what brought you here? You have been considering this investment for some time, signed, you are now here.
Thank you for the invitation to this panel. So OTP Bank is one of the leading banks in Central Eastern Europe. We are constantly looking for good business opportunities markets which are stable and developing fast. Therefore, 3 years ago, we decided that we study the opportunity to invest in Uzbekistan because we saw this is a country like that. We came here several times. We met high-ranking officials, many experts, and we were amazed by the highly educated people and by the commitment to develop the market economy and to develop the markets. At that time, of course, if I may mention, I met Mr. Hodjayev in another position. I met Mr. Umurzakov in a different position. And we decided and we thought this is the right market for us, developing fast. At that time, I must add, the GDP of the country was still around hardly 65 billion euro when this decision was taken. Then came the war, came the COVID, and the management became a bit uncertain whether we should come so far from our home country in such an environment. You know, banking is generally a risky business, but after some considerations, we said that yes, we come and we are committed, and I am sure that this was the right decision. So what we did, we signed the contract to buy the majority of Hypotheca, over 70% in December, and we started to work on the bank, to develop the bank. We have not closed it yet. We hope to close it in about 2 weeks, but we are in a very active contact with the bank since the signing, of course. What we see and what is different. In the meantime, the GDP of the country went up from over 60 to over 80 billion. This year we expect the GDP will amount to about 84, 85 billion euro. So this is a little bit, in the 3 years, this became a little bit a different country. The markets are much more developed. What is positive, of course, that the markets and the banking sector is more developed. But of course, I can tell, the competition is much stronger, especially from the new digital service providers. And all other banks have developed a lot. Also our bank, because the IFC was helping our bank. So we found much better conditions, and the bank is in a very good condition. Of course, we have plans to develop, but the bank is in a really, and the banking sector, in a good condition. No hidden risk we have not found, so we have full confidence in the economy and in the bank as well. What are our plans? We will combine much stronger the branch banking, because our bank has many branches and service centers and digital service parallel at the same time. So not a digital bank, not just a branch bank, but to bring out the best of both of these sales channels. We have plans, of course, to improve the services in the branches, waiting time and customer satisfaction, to improve processes, and we also have plans to improve the services to corporate customers, cash management, trade finance, factoring. So we have all the plans to improve the financing conditions. And in the region, we are one of the active project financing banks. So if there are so many good projects, so many good investors, we shall be a reliable partner of all these investors. And I was just not long ago in a conference where Mr. Mizioyev was talking, and he said that the principles of constitution will be fair competition, fair jurisdiction, good investment environment. And what I experienced, these are not only words, but this is the reality. So we are sure that we took the right decision to come here, and we met only positive treatment by the government, by the people, by our partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laszlo. What you have just outlined, including your plans, is but one illustration of what strategic investors can bring to this country in terms of expertise, transformative power. So let's do more of privatizations to attract high-quality investors. But it's not only the privatizations of banking sector or enterprises. There is a significant role, I try to lean towards him, to Cyril Courjaret from Suez. There is an important role of foreign companies and their expertise that could bring to Uzbekistan. And you have found Uzbekistan on the map. It was not easy, or was it easy? You are already here. What are your plans? We have also worked with you as EBRD in various countries. would love to work with you here in Uzbekistan. So tell us a bit of what brought you to Uzbekistan and where you see the role of your company and actually experience from a European utility operator in this part of the world. You are omnipresent globally. Cyril, over to you.
Good morning to everybody, and thank you for inviting me. I just want to start by a big congratulations to EBRD and the Uzbek authorities for organizing this massive event. I'm happy to share a little bit of Suez journey within the country. When we restarted our strategy definition alongside with our shareholders, Meridiam, GIP, and Caisse des Dépôts 1 year ago, Suez has chosen 40 countries in the world, and Uzbekistan is on the top of the list. It perfectly fits with our social and sustainable roadmap. Its openness to the foreign investment has been instrumental to our decision. And we are happy and proud to be part of that process, and with two major projects, the Tashkent Water Modernization Plan and the large PPP of Surkandarya, where we would bring our technology, transfer our know-how by developing local production of parts of our products and equipment, and of course invest in the long term in the country. Yet, it is a challenging process, and it has taken some years in order to have everything into the perfect fit that would give balance opportunities between what we can bring to the country and what the country is expecting from us. But it is in the DNA of Suez to commit to that journey, and we are very keen to keep working on the transformation of the country. And as defined by Mr. Umur Zakov minutes ago, Suez is very honored to be a pioneer company as we entered the Uzbek market in 2018. We have never regretted our decision, and we will continue to support government of Uzbekistan in the modernization of the water infrastructure that has been under-invested for decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, as you were speaking, questions were coming in. I think Alkis, our director for our operations in Uzbekistan, was checking the account for interesting questions. Alkis, could you, if I may ask you, could you select one or two questions that you find most interesting, and perhaps topics we haven't covered yet?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I have a few questions. As the session is about investment climate, I will focus on these. The questions are rather to the representatives of the government here. So let me start with the first one. We heard about the WTO accession and your efforts, Mr. Hadjaev. We heard about WTO accession and your efforts, and we would like to understand, I see here, what are the key challenges you are facing? What are the key legislative reforms that you need to do, and what will be their impact to society here?
Thank you, Alkis, for a question. As I mentioned before, accession to the WTO is the very long and very complex procedures needed to be accomplished. First, of course, the regulatory reforms that should be continued, which, of course, to synchronize our trade policy, our standards, on technical standards, and of course the property regarding the many international, or would it be on the goods or the services, standards should be applied. And now we are working on it. We already identified many different laws and regulations that should be synchronized, and the Ministry of Justice with the working group is working on that. And of course the second is the WTO accession. That means you have an access, and then you are granted an access for the competitors as well. As you know, for the last 5-6 years, we've been creating a new industries and modernizing the current industries, and of course expanding the possibilities of the local producers, local business and local enterprises. One of the challenges on the accession, of course, the transforming the state-owned enterprises. That means they have to be on the market, they have to compete, they have to be competitive, they should be transforming. That's what we started. You see, we are privatizing the banks, we are trying to privatize big companies. That means, you know, during the negotiation, the market access would be given to SOEs. So they should be transformed, and they should be transformed wisely, and of course according to the new realities. And the second, of course, some industries that been subsidized by the governments, like agriculture and many other big industries, they should be again rethinking their strategy, which they are doing, for instance, on the electronics and on agriculture sector. Last 3-4 years, vast of the reforms were undertaken, and the cotton sector was 100% privatized, which is, I think, ready now to compete with many sectors as well. Of course, during the negotiation, we would work and we will negotiate with our partners, not to be honest, not to harm the industry, which is now just growing, and of course giving the access so the competition will be there. That means the quality, that means the value for the money. We understand that the role of the market will be there, and the challenge, of course, will be accepted.
Thank you very much. Do you have a time plan? I mean, what is your horizon to achieve membership? That's
the target to an accession.
Yeah.
As a negotiator, I wouldn't be telling. If I would be telling very short period, then it will, of course,
I understand.
Reveal my strategy.
No, I
but
understand.
I would say that that would be the trend would be dynamic, and we will be more aggressive on that. And we have very short, I would say, the time schedule, and we'll work on it.
Thank you. Now, I have time for one more question, I understand, so let me ask it. This is inspired by the hard winter we had a few months ago, and we heard about the plans of the huge renewables targets and the ambitious plans of the country. But we didn't hear much about the distribution, any investment in the distribution or in the energy sector, and how will this new renewable energy reach? So what are the investment plans there? Mr. Vafayev, maybe you could answer that.
Well, definitely.
And transmission line, of course.
Thank you. Very interesting question. Definitely, stability of infrastructure is very important for investors, for our population, for our enterprises and companies, and for the economy in general. Given that and learning on our experience of bringing private investors in generation sector, both in renewables and traditional, which increased substantially over the last 6 years, basically growing from zero to many, many gigawatts. We are planning to start inviting private sector, private investors in other parts of infrastructure, especially distribution networks, and to enable them to invest, to make money, but at the same time contribute to the stability of economy. And I just want to mention that as more we go in this area, we more appreciate the importance of comprehensive, very integrated solutions, which bring together different strategies under one coordinated umbrella. And so basically we are putting together master plans for generation capacity increase, supported by transmission master plan, distribution master plan, and it is also coordinated with development of our natural gas distribution and transmission systems. And we'll be ready with this comprehensive strategy sometimes in July, and we hope that it will provide clear and very positive and promising opportunities for our investors to enter these infrastructure segments of the economy.
Thank you very much. So I limited my questions to new investment projects and prospects arena. So floor is yours.
I think we should stay together here. I mean, we look good. I would like to keep the audience here while I'm thanking our panelists, Cyril Courgette from Suez, Mr. Aravali from Masdar, Mr. Wolf from OTP, Deputy Prime Minister Jamshid Hojeb, whom I would love to see staying on the stage, and Mr. Shukrat Vafayev, Director General of the Reforms Agency. Your attention is required because, Babam, there will be signing. Signing of a loan agreement between EBRD and the Republic of Uzbekistan.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is it that we are going to do? Another good investment.
So I'm trying to gain time until a table comes for our Vice President, Jürgen Rickering, to also come and join us here, together with Deputy Prime Minister Hadjaev. We will be signing a very important project. We wanted to make a case that EBRD is an active investor, and in front of your eyes have this signing ceremony.